Texas Longhorn fairy tale season took a bit of a detour on Saturday when the Sooners played spoiler in the Red River Rivalry. Now, how much did the 34-30 loss impact Texas recruiting? We're going to break that down in this video. Also, a new development with a potential 5-star flip for the Longhorns. So Texas fans, hit the subscribe button to the On3 Recruits channel. We are getting this thing cranked up. We want Texas fans to be a part of it. Hit subscribe. Okay. Let's bring on Gerry Hamilton from Inside Texas. Now, Gerry, we're not going to get on here and act day one like this loss to a ranked opponent is going to end everything for Texas recruiting. Yeah. But they did have a good thing going. So does a game like this maybe take away some of the potential ceiling from the class? Or does it show recruits like, hey, we're this close and you could be the difference maker?
Yeah, I think this game helps as long as you go on and win games the rest of the season, right. Josh. I mean, look, I was there. I was sitting 40 rows behind where all the recruit section were, and I can tell you it was an amazing environment for college football, Josh. There weren't any kids there disappointed in what they saw from Texas, what they saw from Oklahoma, or just being there at the game itself. I mean, it was an amazing atmosphere. Look, I think Texas still beat Bama. They're still going to be ranked in the top 10. They still now just have to go win the games. They have some big home games left for recruiting, and they still have momentum on their side. They're going to have a bunch of guys drafted. So, yeah, I think it was a positive for Texas outside of not winning the game. I think the way the program is being seen by top recruits, especially those younger guys, those 2025, 2026 guys throughout this season is very positive for Sarkisian and staff.
Yeah, and what was it like seeing Colin Simmons there, the 5-star edge out of Duncanville, Texas? I mean, he's going to be on the field, probably making an impact in this rivalry game in 1 year. So what was it like being able to watch him and just give me some of the details of the recruits and what they were reacting to throughout the game?
Yeah, I thought I think just the crazy start to the game, Josh. I mean, like the Quinn Ewers' first interception and Oklahoma scores. Texas comes down, throws an interception again, but then blocks a punt for a touchdown. It was Manny Muhammad that recovered that punt for a touchdown. All the Dallas guys were excited. They knew that was Manny Muhammad that scored that touchdown. Then, when you look at Colin Simmons and you think, okay, well, does a loss hurt Texas with a guy like Colin Simmons who's committed? Josh, these guys look at it different. They said, what? Nobody sacked Dylan Gabriel Saturday. Colin Simmons is saying, I'm going to be on this field sacking the Oklahoma quarterback next year. That's kind of the reaction of these guys. But I think overall, Josh, it was more just the excitement of the game. It was a wild environment now. I mean, College game day was there. There were more people than I've ever seen at 7 a.m. trying to get into the Cotton Bowl. So it was a crazy environment when all those kids got there, and it was nothing but positives.
And speaking of crazy environment now, it was a rivalry game, but Texas was the team that could host visitors because they were the home team in this one. So one of the visitors that showed up was a bit of a surprise to me, Gerry. We're talking about 5-star safety, Xavier Filsaime. He's the number 2 ranked safety in America out of the state of Texas, but he committed to the Florida Gators over the summer. What are your sources saying about this development with him showing up to this rivalry game?
Yeah, it's interesting because On3 actually broke that Xavier Filsaime was going to be at the game. Then he's on his way to the game Saturday, and Blake Gideon, the Texas safeties coach, calls and officially offers him. Texas had not offered him prior to Saturday.
Why?
I think the consensus was he was going to go to Florida. He's from Orlando area. His dad lives in McKinney. His mom lives in the Orlando area. And I think the consensus throughout this recruitment was he's most likely to go back to Florida for college. He moved here in the 6th grade, moved to Texas in the 6th grade, but his father does live here. So Texas hasn't really been on him, but Texas still has a need at safety in this class. And so they've been talking to the McKinney High staff, keeping tabs on Filsaime. But, they decided to when he decided he was going to come to the game Saturday, Texas jumped on it as an opportunity to offer him. And I think the other part with that is, look, he's solid to Florida, but the way Florida's season goes the rest of the way could have an impact there, Josh. I mean, from the sources I've talked to, I think Texas is maybe a fallback plan right at this point because he hasn't built those relationships with the Texas staff. That's really just starting now. But Florida's season's going to have an impact on this recruitment.
All right, so if I'm a Texas fan, let's talk to Texas fans right now about Xavier Filsaime, because he just got the offer. So how serious is this going to get? Do you put him on the board for Texas? I mean, is this a guy, unless he takes an official visit, this probably doesn't, nothing really comes of this. But do you think that they get him on campus for an official visit this fall?
I think they're going to work to that for sure. And I do put him on the board for Texas. And here's why. Warren Roberson was a longtime TCU commitment in the last cycle. And then he ends up at Texas, right? So this staff, one thing Texas staff does is their senior evaluation. That doesn't mean they didn't like Filsaime before that, but there's a big need at safety. I think maybe Filsaime's more open now to the recruitment process, just with the questions around Florida a little bit right now. So I think he's on the board. Texas will continue to try to get him on campus and engage where his interest level is at. But just by him going to the game with his junior teammate Riley Pettijohn, who's one of the top junior linebackers in the country, and a couple other McKinney teammates, younger players that have a lot of offers already, Texas knows he has interest now.
All right, well, let's talk about another flip target on Texas's radar, and that's DeAndre Carter, one of the top interior offensive linemen. He's out of California. He was on campus last weekend for an official visit. Now that the visit high's kind of worn off and the dust has settled a little bit, DeAndre Carter, he's committed to Auburn, but what are your sources saying on a potential flip, and when could it happen if it is to happen?
Yeah, I think Texas feels like they have a legitimate shot. The week after this visit, the communication's been really good and positive since that visit. I think that the thoughts that I've heard out of Austin are next couple of weeks, they're going to know for sure. Okay. Is this a realistically a possibility of happening? There's a lot of pressure on Auburn in this recruitment, Josh. He's the only offensive lineman committed in the class in the high school rank. So that puts a lot of pressure on Auburn to keep Carter in the fold. Before you even talk about portal, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on Auburn to keep him in the fold, but there's a lot of connections with Mater Dei now. I mean, Brandon Baker, Sarks has long-standing connections there. I think the big thing here from people I talk to is, does he feel like there's an earlier path to the field at Auburn versus Texas, which has a little more interior depth? Hugh Freeze is in year one of his rebuild there. But Texas feels like it's a legitimate shot, and I think in the next couple of weeks we're going to have that answer.
All right, we'll keep tracking that one. Now, do we know if five-star corner Kobe Black, who's been trending heavily toward Texas, did he show up in College Station over the weekend for a visit to Texas A&M?
Yeah, we believe he did, and Solomon Williams, the other Texas target, four-star edge out of Carrollwood Day. Kobe was expected at Texas A&M, and this is where Texas A&M makes these recruitments interesting, right? I mean, this becomes a Texas versus Texas A&M battle at the end of the day. His brother plays at Oklahoma State. He was always going to stay close to home, and Texas has had a big lead in this recruitment. He goes to A&M now. The key will be how quick does Texas get him back on campus. For me, that will be one of the key factors here. But A&M's going to push, and they're going to make this one tough on Texas. And now the key is how does Texas respond?
Man, speaking of A&M, they pulled off another surprise over the weekend. They got Micah Hudson, the top wide receiver in the state of Texas, who's committed to Texas Tech. They got him on campus. And I say that because I want to know, Gerry, do you think that this shows that there's a little openness to Micah Hudson's recruitment, and could it lead to a visit to Texas at some point before signing day?
Texas would surprise me at this point. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it would surprise me. I think Ryan Wingo is the top wide receiver target on the board for Texas. I mean, I think that's where we're at with this process. Now, Micah's mom went to Texas A&M, so there is that part of the recruitment as well. His father played at Texas Tech. Mother attended Texas A&M, I think, for a little while there. So there is that part of the equation. But, yeah, I'd be surprised with Texas right now. But we've been surprised in this business before. But I do think Ryan Wingo is where Texas' top target is.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep tabs on that. If we need to, we'll talk Micah Hudson down the road. But for now, let's get Texas fans something to think about. Keep their mind off this loss. What's next for Texas recruiting? Whether it's the next big weekend, the next commitment, what's something they can focus on right now?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, look, Texas still in a good spot with Kobe Black. They're right there battling. I think they're in a good spot with Ryan Wingo. There's 2 5-stars on the board. We'll see what happens with Solomon Williams. Josh, I mean, 2 visits to A&M in 3 weeks, 1 to Texas. That kind of feels Texas A&M, but we'll see what happens, right? And Texas is, look, they offer Xavier Filsaime. They're into their senior evaluations and seeing what recruitments they can get in on with the season they're having and maybe the season some others are not having as well. So that's where Texas is at. They're going to swing for the fences at the high school level in recruiting. And if they don't fill their needs, they're going to go to the portal and get really good players. I mean, that's the great thing about being a blue blood program is you swing for those A-list targets in high school recruiting. And if you happen to miss on a couple, it's easy to go to the portal and find yourself a starter level player. But Xavier Filsaime will not be the last senior offer or evaluation by Texas. That I will say. The process will continue.
All right. So, yeah, and I think Texas has done enough in the first quarter of the season to build up enough equity with some of these recruits that one loss isn't going to shake Texas recruiting to its core. Still a lot of positivity left and a lot of different options on the board still. So, Gerry Hamilton, thanks for stopping by today on the Inside Scoop.
You got it.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.